Hello Nigerians, we have a breaking news and this is very serious. Today we are talking about something that happened quietly, behind closed doors in Jigawa State, but the ripple effect of it is already shaking the political waters ahead of 2027. I need you to stay with me till the end of this one, because there are layers here, and if you leave halfway, you will miss the part that really matters. What we are about to unpack involves 6 sitting governors from the All Progressives Congress, more than 500 Islamic scholars and clerics drawn from across this country, a deputy Senate president, and a special advisor to the president himself. And it is landing at a very sensitive moment, barely 2 years to the next presidential election, when every alignment, every meeting, every communique is being read by politicians and by ordinary Nigerians as a signal of where power is moving next. Before I go further, if you are new to this channel, hit that subscribe button, tap the like, and turn on your notifications, because Naija News Online will continue to bring you these stories as they break, with the facts laid bare and no sentiments attached. Now, back to the news.
Let's start with what is documented, what has actually been reported by multiple outlets, because that is where credible journalism must begin. A closed-door meeting took place in Jigawa State, bringing together more than 500 Islamic scholars, preachers and clerics drawn from different parts of the country. Sitting alongside them at that meeting was 6 governors from the All Progressives Congress, all from the northern part of Nigeria. Also present was the Deputy Senate President, Senator Jibrin Barau, and Ibrahim Masari, who serves as the President's Special Advisor on Political Matters. Here is where the story gets interesting. In the initial reporting on this Jigawa gathering, the identities of the 6 governors were not immediately made public. That detail, the withholding of names at first, is itself worth noting, because in Nigerian politics, when powerful men gather behind closed doors and their names are not immediately released, people begin to ask questions. Who was really in that room, and why the initial silence? What we do know for certain is the outcome. At the end of that meeting, the assembled clerics formally declared their backing for President Bola Tinubu to return to Aso Rock for a second term. Organizers and commentators following the event have described it as one of the largest single blocks of religious endorsement Tinubu has received from Nigeria's Islamic community since he took office in May 2023.
Now, here is something our research team has cross-checked, and it is important for you to understand, because the story does not end with the Jigawa meeting alone. Separate reporting has emerged on a gathering under the banner of the Muslim Intellectuals Forum held in Dutse, also in Jigawa State. At this meeting, organizers say no fewer than 500 Muslim clerics attended, imams, preachers, and Quranic memorizers drawn from across all 19 northern states and the Federal Capital Territory. And this time, names were named. Reports identify Kano State Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf, Yobe State Governor Mai Malabuni, Sokoto State Governor Ahmed Aliyu, Jigawa State Governor Umar Namadi, and Kaduna State Governor Uba Sani as being present. The Deputy Senate President Barau Jibrin was also named as being in attendance. Now, Nigerians, here is what I must be honest with you about. It is not entirely clear from public reporting whether this Dutse gathering is the very same meeting first reported without names, now finally identified, or whether it is a distinct follow-up gathering held around the same time in the same state with an overlapping cast of characters. What is certain is this: the message from both gatherings is identical. Northern religious leaders standing shoulder to shoulder with sitting APC governors calling on Nigerians to vote Tinubu in 2027.
So, why are these clerics and these governors putting their names, their reputations, and their pulpits behind this endorsement? Let's lay out the stated reasoning, because this is where facts and interpretation begin to separate.
According to the organizers, the forum's resolution pointed to what they describe as measurable improvement across northern Nigeria under the current administration, specifically citing security and infrastructure as the two pillars of their argument. The position, as communicated by the forum, was that there have been genuine gains on these fronts and that these gains justify a call on the Nigerian public to support the government continuation in office. This is consistent with a pattern we have been tracking on this channel for weeks now. Just recently, we reported on Northeast leaders visiting the president in Abuja, on the Northwest zone of the APC endorsing him after a Kaduna meeting, and on a North Central coalition doing the same, citing security operations and road projects. The Jigawa and Dutse gatherings fit squarely into that same pattern, but with one crucial difference. This time, it is not politicians alone doing the endorsing. It is the clergy. It is men who stand before congregations every Friday, now stepping directly into partisan politics.
Let me be very clear here, because this is the responsible way to report a story like this. Here is what we know for certain. The meetings happened. The attendance figures, 6 governors, over 500 clerics, have been reported consistently. The endorsement resolution was passed and publicly announced. Named governors from at least 5 northern states have been placed at one or both of these gatherings. These are documented facts. Here is what remains interpretation. What remains a claim rather than a proven fact. Whether the improvements in security and infrastructure cited by the organizers are as complete or as widespread as described is a matter of ongoing public debate, not something this channel can independently verify from a communique alone. Similarly, whether this endorsement genuinely reflects grassroots sentiment among ordinary Muslims and northerners, or whether it primarily reflects the views of political and religious elites who convened it, is something reasonable people disagree on. Think about that difference for a moment, between an event happening and an event meaning being settled. The first is fact, the second is politics, and our job tonight is to hold both without pretending one is the other.
Let's give the strongest version of the case being made by those who organized and support this endorsement, because that is what fair journalism demands. Supporters of the president point to a broader northern picture. The northwest zone of the APC has already passed a formal vote of confidence in Tinubu, citing improved security that has allowed farmers to return to their fields in areas once terrorized by bandits. They point to 12 federal ministers drawn from the northwest alone, key National Assembly positions, and top security appointments, arguing this reflects genuine inclusion of the region in government. The North Central Coalition has pointed to over 61 road projects across 6 states. The Northeast leadership has pointed to ongoing highway construction linking several states and to continuity in leadership through the retention of Vice President Kashim Shettima. Put together, the argument from Tinubu's supporters in the north is this: across every northern zone, independently, similar endorsements are emerging, built on similar justifications, security and infrastructure. And that consistency, they argue, is itself evidence that something real is happening on the ground, not merely stage-managed politics.
Now, let's give the other side of this fair hearing, because skeptics of this wave of endorsements also have a case worth stating plainly. Critics point out that in Nigerian politics, endorsements by governors, clerics, and political appointees have historically been a tool used to manufacture an appearance of overwhelming consensus ahead of elections, sometimes reflecting genuine popular sentiment, and sometimes reflecting the interests of a political class securing its own position within a ruling party. The fact that 6 governors initially attended a closed-door meeting whose composition was not immediately disclosed to the public is, for skeptics, a point of concern rather than reassurance. Transparency, they argue, should not be an afterthought when public officials are engaging in partisan political activity. There is also the deeper question of whether religious institutions should be endorsing political candidates at all.
Critics argue that when clerics, men entrusted with religious guidance rather than partisan mobilization, formally throw their pulpits behind one politician, it blurs a line that many Nigerians of multiple faiths believe should stay firmly separate, regardless of which party or which faith is involved.
Now, Nigerians, I have to bring in something that gives this story even more weight, something that has been simmering in the background of northern politics in recent weeks. There has been growing controversy around comments made by an Islamic cleric at a separate gathering in Kano, where he defended President Tinubu's Muslim-Muslim ticket, arguing that Muslims should not have to apologize for backing candidates who share their faith, given their numbers and influence. Those comments, made at an event attended by the governors of Kano and Jigawa States, also included language describing Christians in terms many found deeply offensive, and it triggered a strong reaction from Christian leaders in the north. The chairman of the Northern Christian Association publicly condemned those remarks, arguing that the controversy exposed decades-old complaints from Christians in northern Nigeria about religious language in politics. He made the point that Tinubu and his vice president were not elected in 2023 by Muslims alone, noting support that came from Christian-majority states and communities as well. Now, this is not the same event as the Jigawa Clerics endorsement we opened with tonight, but it is happening in the same season, in the same region, among some of the same political actors, and it means this new wave of clerical endorsement is landing inside an atmosphere already sensitive about religion and politics mixing in the north.
Let's bring this down from the level of governors and clerics to the level of the ordinary Nigerian sitting at home watching this video right now. Whatever side you fall on, what this tells us is that the machinery of 2027 has already started moving, and it is moving early. For the average Nigerian in the north, the farmer, the trader, the young graduate looking for work, these endorsements are being framed around two things they genuinely feel in their daily lives: whether they can travel safely on the roads, and whether banditry and insecurity are truly reducing where they live. Those are not abstract political talking points. Those are dinner table concerns. But there is also a cost to watch for. When religious leaders formally align with one political camp this early, it can quietly reshape how communities relate to each other along faith lines, long before a single vote is cast. For the ordinary Nigerian, especially in religiously mixed communities across the north, that is worth paying attention to, not with panic, but with clear eyes.
Let's zoom out for a moment, because tonight's story does not exist in isolation. In recent weeks alone, we have tracked Northeast leaders, governors, elder statesmen, ministers, lawmakers, and traditional rulers paying a visit to the president in Abuja to endorse his second term. We have tracked the northwest zone of the APC passing a formal vote of confidence in Kaduna. We have tracked a north-central coalition citing over 61 road projects as grounds for its endorsement. We have even tracked 21st-term APC governors cutting across regions, pledging what they call performance-driven support for the president. Now, add tonight's story to that list. 6 governors and over 500 clerics in Jigawa, plus the Muslim Intellectuals Forum gathering in Dutse, and a clear picture starts to form. This is not a random, spontaneous wave of goodwill. This looks to any trained political eye like a coordinated zone-by-zone campaign to consolidate northern support behind the president well over a year before campaign season formally begins.
Now, before I give you my own take on this, let me leave you with the open questions this story leaves unanswered. The things I want you to watch for in the days ahead. Number 1. Will the 6 governors from the Jigawa meeting ever be formally and officially named, or will that detail remain deliberately vague? Number 2. Is the Dutse Muslim Intellectuals Forum meeting the same event as the Jigawa gathering, or a genuinely separate one? And why has reporting not made that distinction clearer? Number 3. How will Christian leaders in the north respond to yet another high-profile religious endorsement of the president, especially coming so soon after the Muslim-Muslim ticket controversy? And number 4. Will opposition parties or rival northern political figures respond publicly to challenge the narrative that the north now speaks with one voice behind Tinubu? These are not small questions.
These are the questions that will tell us over the coming months whether what we witnessed in Jigawa was the beginning of a genuine northern consensus or simply the loudest voice in a room that does not yet reflect the whole region.
Now, let me give you my honest personal take on this. As someone who has watched Nigerian politics closely for a long time, endorsements on their own are not evidence of good governance, and they are not evidence of bad governance either. They are political statements made by people with their own interests, and Nigerians are wise enough to know the difference between a communique and a lived reality. What I believe matters most going forward is transparency. The governors involved in a meeting like this, or the public clarity on who exactly attended, and religious leaders who choose to enter partisan politics, or their congregations' honesty about that choice, rather than folding it quietly into a resolution. I am not here to tell you whether to support this endorsement or reject it. That decision belongs to you and to the ballot box when the time comes. What I am here to do is make sure you have the facts laid out honestly, so that whatever you decide with clear eyes and not with half a story.
If this story helped you understand what is really happening behind these northern endorsements, do me a favor, like this video, share it with someone who needs the full picture, and drop your own thoughts in the comment section below. I read every single one, and some of the sharpest insight on this channel comes straight from you, the viewers. This has been a special report from Naija News Online on a story still very much unfolding. 6 governors, 500 clerics, and a north that is being asked quietly but firmly to speak with one voice. We will keep following this one, and when the names come out, when the questions get answered, you will hear it here first. Until next time, this is Naija News Online. Stay informed, stay alert, and I will see you in the next one.